I am Daniel Allen, and today is February 1st, 2014. We are here with my mother and this at our home in Plano, Texas. I know you went on some very interesting trips in college. Would you like to share them to us?
Yes, I would. When I was in college, I was part of a study abroad program, and I got to go to London, England, and I also got to go to Russia, and we went to Moscow and St. Petersburg in Russia.
Those two are very different places. What was it like in England?
Well, in England, we were in London, and it's usually very damp and misty there, but pretty warm because it's near the sea. And but the year that I was in London was the coldest winter they had had in 100 years.
Really?
Really.
Tell me more about that.
It was so cold. And the buildings in London aren't really made for that kind of cold. So the walls are not real thin, and the walls are not real thick, and they don't have great heating systems like we do. So it was very cold, and they had a lot of trouble with ice on bridges and things like that they are not used to.
Oh, what was London like?
Well, London is a very big city and a very cosmopolitan city. There are people from all different countries that live in London, and it has many different kinds of restaurants and neighborhoods. And so when we were there, we got to go to, they have like theater shows like we have on Broadway. They have wonderful museums. It's a wonderful place to go.
I know that London is a very old city, and that it was also involved in World War II.
Yes.
Did you go any places that they talked about in World War II?
Yes, I know you like World War II.
That's a flaw of mine.
We went to one museum that I remember that was about World War II, and it was mainly about when the Nazis flew over and bombed London for so many days. They bombed the city almost to pieces. And the main thing I remember is that the king didn't leave the city. His advisors wanted him to leave to be safe, but he and the queen didn't leave. They wanted to stay in town with their people. I really liked that.
You also said you went to Russia. What was it like there?
It was very different from England.
Well, what's the difference?
The biggest difference was that when I went to Russia, it was 1985, and so Russia was still part of the Soviet Union. So it was a communist country. And the biggest difference from being in England was the amount of freedom that we had.
How did you see that difference in freedom?
When we were in England, or we got to go to Paris and Belgium also, our tour guide would take us and show us around. But then we were able to go explore on our own as long as we got back in time to catch the tour bus. And it was not like that in Russia. In Russia, the tour guide had us stay with them all the time, and they would check roll to make sure that everyone was there at every stop. And they also didn't like us talking to the local people. If we started to talk to people that lived there in Russia, they would move us on to keep us from doing that.
It sounds like Russia was a fascist country and not much fun there. Is that true?
No, we had a really good time. It was a wonderful trip. We got to go to the Russian ballet and the Russian circus, and we got to go to the Hermitage Museum, which is a huge world-class museum with many famous works of art. So it was a really good trip.
How cold was it in Russia?
It was cold. I told you that London was the coldest winter in 100 years. Well, Russia was even colder. It was so cold when we got off the plane that if you opened your mouth, the spit in your mouth would freeze. Yes. And they also told us that wearing a hat was good, because if you weren't wearing a hat, your hair could get so cold outside that if you touched it, it would break off.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
That is really cold. Well, we're almost out of time. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Just that traveling is a great thing, and it's something I think everybody should do.
Well, thank you for your time and for sharing the details with stories in details with me.
Well, thank you for asking me.
You're welcome.